Don't buy board games. Don't buy board games. Don't buy board games.
Locked in the bunker, shadows shake. One man clapping secrets awake. Board games living, dice they break. Echoes pound and hearts they quake. In your bunker, board games rolling. One man clapping, stories growing. Hard rock thunder, speakers blowing. Clapping loud, the unknown sound.
Welcome to the sound of one man clapping. I am the one man coming to you direct from the bunker. It is Monday afternoon on a holiday Monday in sunny Australia. It is 4 days to PAX and life is good. Today we'll go through all the games that were. We'll traipse through my love affair with crowdfunding and FOMOMOFO. And we'll spend some quality time with the voices in my head. With a little fangirling. Strap in, OMC crew. Had an awesome week. My weeks are getting awesomer and awesomer. Awesomer. Is that a word? How about everything is awesome? Life anthems. I played some great games. Had some great times. As I said, PAX Australia is on the end of this week, so it's a very exciting time trying not to spend any money on anything. It doesn't help when Project L sends me a message going, hey, I'm going off to the game store. Do you need anything? I'm like, well, of course I need stuff. Just don't. Stop messaging me. Just stop messaging me. I'm going to PAX. Breathe. Anyway, did have a great week. Got another game off my shelf of firsts, which is fantastic. We'll start with that. So, played a game of Oak. Now, Oak I didn't get it in the crowdfunding. I bought it after crowdfunding in the retail market. I did get the deluxe edition, and it is a very, very pretty edition of games. This is, of course, by Game Brewer, RIP. Game Brewer is no more, known for very high quality production games. Oak is a worker placement game. You are druids in the forest. It is very pretty. You've got a front and back side of the board in the deluxe version, a day and a night side, and I set the night side up for no reason other than it's got lovely little fireflies, and look, it's very pretty. It's been referred to as druid dress up because you've got these little meeples, and you are upgrading your meeples into different sort of with different strengths. You know, you've got your one meeple, which can do, it's the one meeple to rule them all. He can do everything. You've got one that can basically not be blocked out of spaces. I mean, there's no blocking out of spaces. It just costs you a lot more to get into them. You've got one that can't be blocked out of spaces. You've got, anyway. Oak is a very, very tight resource management game. And this was my first game. So I suspect there's some better opening moves than I played that would enable me to do more things with my game. It is incredibly tight. I would say tighter than Everdell. I've been a fan of Everdell for a long time. It's not in my top 20, but I do love it. I think it's a great game, particularly if you layer a couple of the expansions on. Oak, for what it's worth, it's got a real Everdell sort of feeling. I actually, hot take, think it's a better game than Everdell right out of the box. I think there's more game there, while still not being out of reach for a lot of gamers. It's basically a straight up worker placement. You're going to place workers. It has that same sort of Everdell mechanic in that you can actually be out of workers and be resetting at a different time to everyone else. And there's good and bad things with that because, the spaces fill up. We only played it 2-player. And there are some cock-blocking meeples that go out if you're playing 2-player to just make it a little bit tighter out on the board. But once you're out of meeples, you have this dell in the woods filled with all these druids that are kind of sort of hanging out around the oak tree who can make a trip out to these little fields and harvest ingredients. So if you are out of meeples first, you get first dib, or you can pass. You don't have to use all your workers up. It'd be stupid not to in a worker placement game as tight as Oak. But if you go out first, you've got these free workers that are out there that can traipse over and collect mushrooms and little what looks like ginseng root and cinnamon and that sort of stuff. Because at the start of the game, you've got 3 randomized potions that can be made for recipe fulfillment, and they get you everything from different resources to other bennies to points and whatever else. And then you reset. And so if you are out first, you get the lovely little benefit of, well, I can't take any more actions, but I'm going to be first to the little bits that I can make into potions. There are ways to unlock more workers. Unfortunately, all your druids that you unlock have to have somewhere to sit on your board. So you also have to unlock new spaces on the board for them to go to. Making a potion is also an action you have to choose, and you have cards in your hand, and those cards are multi-use. They either let you take one of 3 actions, which have certain costs, or they let you walk down one of 3 paths in the Druid Oak Tree. And that's where some of these meeples that are left in the central sort of dell, they can go on little journeys down the oak tree. Think Bitoku-esque, you've got them marching down the pilgrimage path and doing different things and getting different bennies. But you have to choose one or the other, and it's very tight. And I can actually see a path, a game path, where Super Trooper bought a card early. He bought a new card early because you start with 3 cards, you can get more. And more cards give you more opportunities on the board for those worker placement bits. There are other things you can do with your workers, but you can't access the main board without the cards. And so I think not getting a card in that whole first round hurt me. There are other things you can get that add little extra worker placement spaces to your board that you can use without a card, and I chose to go down that path early. Unfortunately, I was just out of resources, because some of those things you can attach to your board are basically resource farms. Your player boards are asymmetrical as well. So Super Trooper had this board that allowed him to go to a space that didn't cost him anything to get to, that just straight up got him 6 resources. And 6 resources is a bit of a fortune. And I think if I were to play it again, I would make sure that I got one of the board upgrades that created resources. I would make sure to get a card in round 1. I think I'd have a very different game. Oak has apparently a not terrible solo mechanic as well, so I might give that a go. I really enjoyed Oak for what it's worth. I think, as I said, out of the box it's a better game than Everdell. I'm not sure it's a better game than Everdell when you layer on things like Belfair and a little bit of Spirecrest and that sort of stuff. I think Everdell always feels like you can't get anything done, and all of a sudden, oh, Shazam, I got 16 cards in my tableau, or like 15, I can't remember, 12, whatever. It's been a while between trips to Everdell. But Oak, I think, is cleaner, and just, as said, out of the box, I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed Oak a lot. That's by Wim Goossens, who, interestingly, was also the designer for Bone Wars, which was Game Brewer's other big game. And I'm going to guess that Wim Goossens was perhaps one of the directors of Game Brewer. Maybe, I don't know, haven't looked that up. I do enjoy both of those games. I think Bone Wars is an exceptional, mid-heavyweight Euro with lots of great... the overproduction of Bone Wars is stupidly high. And art was by, I'm going to get this wrong, but it looks like Maciej Janik. And of course, we've said it twice, published by Game Brewer. I will probably get Oak on the Table solo, because I really like to hit it again and really look at some of those interlocking pieces and the rhythm of the game. Played a game, went back to Babylon. I really like Babylon. So for those of you that haven't played Babylon or don't know what Babylon is it's a positional abstract that's not abstract. So basically it's basically a 3D tile laying game, really, is what it is. You are building the Hangars of Babylon. It's got a real Calico-esque kind of, you can place this here, but you won't score if it's not there, and if it's not interrelated to this particular item, then it's going to score 0, and it builds up in 3D off your player board. Also, the Sleeve of Death will wipe out this game in a heartbeat, because while the main player board has holes in it to lock all these pillars in, because what you're ostensibly doing is you're drafting a tile from the quarry. Where you draft that tile from will give you a certain number of pillars that you can construct with, and then from there you're placing these tiles down into your little tableau. And if you can line up decorations on 2 different tiles in a certain way, you get to place a little 3D item on this. So if you've got 2 little bridge icons that line up properly, you get to put a little 3D bridge. If you have 2 layers lined up just right, you can put a little staircase between them. And what you end up with is this delightful little construction at the end of the game that then you score. And the scoring is fantastic. So if you build a bridge on level 1, it's 3 points. If you build a bridge on level 2, it's 6 points. If you build a staircase between level 2 and level 3, it's 5 points. So there's all these little interlocking pieces with the scoring that I think are fantastic. It's brain-burny in just the right way. It doesn't give me the Calico headache. And I think the reason Calico gives me a headache is because it's 2D, and because you're mixing... it's like this vertical hold control on the old TVs. You've got stripes and checks and plaids and spots and whatever the case is. and in the end it just all looks the same, and I end up having to scrunch my face up to make any sense of what I'm looking at. Whereas Babylon being three-dimensional, much like Harmonies, which has sort of got a three-dimensional element, it builds up off the board, I think it's easier for my brain to grok those pain-free than it is Calico. Don't get me wrong, I think Calico is a very clever game. I think there's a wonderful game there. It just literally causes me pain. Interestingly, Cascadia has a new game coming out that builds up over 3D as well. Not so much like Harmonies, but in that the terrains kind of stack on top of each other. So I'm looking forward to seeing more about that. It's coming out, I believe, to crowdfunding sometime the next 2 months. But anyway, back to Babylon. I enjoyed Babylon. Super Trooper asked if I would teach him Babylon because it looks great. I think he liked Babylon. He wasn't crying at the end, so that's usually a good sign. And Babylon is by Olivier Gregoire. Art is by The Creation Studio. And it's published by Geek Attitude Games, who I know nothing about other than they made Babylon. And I like Babylon. Babylon's great because you pop the box open and you literally start playing almost immediately right out of the box. You grab your player board, you grab your starting tile, and the box is set up so you've got all your components in it, and then there's this little rock quarry that is built in the middle of the box that you just start drafting tiles out of. So before you put Babylon away, you basically set it up for the next game. When you want to play, you open the lid, you take the player boards out, and bam, you are literally ready to play. And I think that's a very clever way to put it all together. Oh, I played a big one this last week. Look, I'm not going to give it any preamble because there's no point. It gets a bit wanky after a while. But we played Battlestar Galactica. Yes, the Battlestar Galactica. Now, spoiler alert, I'm a mad Battlestar Galactica fan. I watched Battlestar Galactica when I was like 9 years old with the original Cylons. I loved the reboot. I thought the reboot was thrilling and sexy and all the stuff I want from my sci-fi. Yeah. So anyway, I love Battlestar Galactica. Absolutely love it. And our group, we try to play it once a year. Now, Battlestar Galactica, if you haven't played, I have spoken to people online since. They've said, yeah, I can get through Battlestar Galactica in 2 hours. I don't know how. Because I think on a good day, Battlestar Galactica is like a 3.5 hour game. Maybe if you've played it all the time, you're playing with regs, and you're like, yep, bang, I know what I'm doing. Yep, bang, I know what I'm doing. But because there's a little bit of table talk around Battlestar Galactica, it takes a while to play. And I don't even mind. I think the game we played last week was 3.5 or 4 hours. And you look up at the end and you don't feel like, God, I wish that ended 2 hours ago. Because it's just dripping with theme, with backstabbing, with you've got some secret Cylons on the table. There's a little bit of social deduction in there. And they can be revealed at certain times. And when they are, the table goes, I knew it. And I'm like, yeah, but I only just found out myself. So settle down, princess. Because you can start off, just like in Battlestar Galactica, the show, you can start off as human. And you don't even know you're a Cylon till later on, which is, it's great. Has it got flaws? Oh yeah, it's got flaws. There's like, we were playing with the Pegasus expansion. I think the only thing we used that for was somebody zipped over there to use the guns over there because they were more powerful. No one touched Pegasus otherwise. But look, and for what it is, a lot of the rules are a little unclear if you don't play regularly, I will say, because I was gearing up to this big turn. I'm like, ooh, this could be great. And then I went to do it and they're like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, the fuck do you mean I can't do that? I'm like, well, you can't do that. I'm like, whoa, the card doesn't say that. I'm like, yeah, but that's the rules. I'm like, y'all can eat a bowl of dicks. I still had fun. I had a wicked time playing Battlestar Galactica. As I said, I'm a mad Battlestar Galactica fan from way back. I would love it if we could squeeze that in twice a year, but it's an event thing. You need 6 people at the table who all want to spend, 3.5, 4 hours playing something like this. And yeah, it was great. For what it's worth, I lost. I was on the losing team, but that's fine. It's all fine. That is by Corey Konishka. I don't know. Sorry. Art by an Army and published by Fantasy Flight Games. It is long out of print. To the best of my knowledge, if you want a copy of Battlestar Galactica, they go these days. Even worn ones that don't look fab are going for like $250, $300. And I don't think there's any intent on bringing it back to print. If you can find someone who has it and get a game in, get a game in if you love Battlestar, even if you like Battlestar a little. Playing the game always makes me want to watch the show again from the beginning, because the arc on the show from start to finish, from the opening episode to the last episode, it has got a spectacular chef's kiss finish to the show. Every time we play, I want to watch the show again. And every time I play, I'm reminded of how much I enjoy Battlestar. Battlestar Galactica, it was great. Got to play a game of Rebirth by Dr. Reiner Knizia. Now, Rebirth was, I believe, delivered recently. As I want to say recently, in the last 3 or 4 months. It was a crowdfunded game. I think it's a reskin. 90% of the games he releases these days are reskins, because he's got 787 trillion games out. But anyway, Rebirth is one of the Dr. Reiner sort of classic pick a spot, put a thing down. Pick a spot, put a thing down, and if you can get your things down in the right spot, you get points. Is it going to set the world on fire? No. Is it a good game? Look, I think Rebirth... I'm going to say yes, I think it's a good game. Full stop. Period. I think Rebirth got a bit of not a bad rap, a mixed review when it came out. Because I think people are so enamored with the clean turns of Through the Desert. Put a camel down, move on. Put a camel down, move on. Put a camel down, realize you put it in the wrong fucking place, swear, move on. Put a camel down, realize it's not even, but you put a camel down and you move on. Rebirth has a little bit of Through the Desert-y to it, in that what you've got is a map of Scotland on one side and a map of, I didn't see the other side, something else. And you've got a number of tokens in front of you, and they're face down. You're going to flip one up, and it's going to have an icon on it, which will be a plant icon, a power plant icon, or a domicile, like a house icon. And you've got to pick a spot on the board that has a matching icon and drop it down. Now, if you can put that next to other ones that you have, well, then you are going to get points. If you put it on its own, you get 1 point. Put it down next to one other you've got, you get 2 points. It's so on and so forth. There are other landmarks on the board. So you've got these castles and you've got cathedral spaces. If you have the majority around a castle space with your colored icons, whether they're house icons or farm icons or power plant icons, you will put a castle of your color in there. If somebody comes in and they put something down and they're now in the lead, they will bump you out and put a castle of their color in there. End of the game, castles are worth points. The cathedrals, if you put down next to a cathedral, the cathedral lets you draw an endgame point scoring card. And I think this is probably where some people are like really meh with this, because if you don't get all your cathedral cards very early on, and I think that's probably what he was trying to do, was basically nudge people and go, look, get your stuff down next to cathedrals early, because then you can work out what to do with the rest of your pieces. But of course, the natural tendency early is to chase the spots to give you points or give you castles. Personally, I think if I was to play it again, that's what I would do. I would drop my pieces next to as many cathedrals as I can, because by the end of the game, sometimes the cathedral spaces are all blocked out. You can't even get in there because all the good points are on these cathedral spaces. And then once I've got 4 or 5 of these gold cards, look at them and go, right, now what can I backfill? Because you're looking at your first 4 turns or 5 turns to grab these cards, and then you've got another, whatever it is, 15 turns to try and build something. That's my takeaway from the game. I enjoyed Rebirth. I would play Rebirth again. Would I go out and buy it? No. Project L owns Rebirth. Don't have to. I played this with Super Trooper, Project L, and the Cracker. Project L actually picked it up, I think, on the way to where we were, to Super Trooper's house, and she was punching it, and we played it that day. And you know it's a good day if you can buy a game, punch it, and play it the same day. You know you're winning every day if you can get through that. That is obviously by Reiner Knizia, arts by Anne. Oh my god, I am not going to be able to do these names. Anne, can I buy a vowel? There are 12 letters in Anne's last name, 2 Y's and an A. Perzabilska. Anne Perzabilska and Kate Redishuk, published by Mighty Boards. I think Rebirth is absolutely worth playing. I don't know that I would buy it. I gotta be honest, I'm not the maddest Reiner Knizia fan. I enjoy a lot of his games. I don't feel the need to own a lot of his games. I know that some in our group are just absolutely in love with Reiner Knizia, and I know that Dr. Reiner's got, he's got 700 odd games to his credit, and some of them are absolute showstoppers. They're greenfield games. They'll be greenfield games for the next 20-30 years for a reason. He's probably got a lot of Drek in there as well. You can't make 750 games and not have some of them be terrible. Rebirth is neither. Rebirth is neither one of the ones that's going to be around in 30 years or one of the ones that is, boring and painful. It's nice. Rebirth is nice. I really enjoy Rebirth. I would play it any time. In fact, I'd probably play Rebirth over Through the Desert. Hot take, because I think Rebirth was more interesting than pick a camel, put it down, and hope that someone else doesn't cock block you in, the next round. Don't get me wrong, Rebirth has the same cock blockiness, but I just feel like there's a lot more choices. Maybe I just don't understand Through the Desert. That's possible. So that's Rebirth. And then, so we're shooting through these real quick today, guys. Sorry, it's Monday afternoon. I got to go back to work tomorrow. I'm fired up for PAX. I don't want you to feel rushed. It's just that time of day where I want to lay this down for you and get it to you, because it is Monday. I'm a day late already because it is a public holiday. It's a statutory holiday here in Australia. Also played a game of Spectacular. Now, I've talked about Spectacular probably about 8 or 10 episodes ago. I really like Spectacular. Spectacular, the best way I could describe it is Arc Nova Light. You're creating an animal park, and you're doing that by drafting a combination of tiles and dice. Now, the dice get rolled, and then they are a certain strength for the rest of the game. So you're not rolling to move, you're not rolling for combat, you're not rolling for area majority, but you have different strengths of dice that you're drafting from a number of pools. You have a pool that is yours, and you have a pool that is in front of you that every turn it will pass around like sushi go to the next person in line. And you take a tile from one and a die from the other, and you do your best. It's a very quick game. Spectacular is 30 minutes, and it's done and dusted. And it's got what I think is a really great scoring mechanic, in that you score at mid game and you score in a totally different way at end game. At the mid game point, what you're trying to do is you're trying to get tiles placed and connected with dice on them to your front entrance. And all the boards have a different front entrance and a slightly different presentation. And then for the end game, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build big clusters like Harmonies or Cascadia, whatever you want. Clusters of tiles that are the same color, filled with dice. And some of these tiles have little hearts on them, and they're breeding tiles. And so if you have a cluster of yellow tiles and you have one of them with a heart, you will get 1 times the number of pips in that cluster for your score. If you can get 2 hearts in there, you will get 2 times the number of pips on the dice. And there are rules, actually, deeper rules about, some of them are limited to how many pips can be on the dice. And there's another rule, some sort of rule. There's another sub rule in there about building towers. And once a tower is built, it can only have level 6 dice. And look, don't focus on that too much, but just focus on the fact that if you don't have little hearts in your colored groups, you get 0. So if you have a little group of gray tiles and you've got 22 pips in there, but you have no hearts, you get no points. And then at the end of the game, you also get points for variety of animals. So, and that scales up dramatically. If you can get 17 different animals in your tableau, that is 80 points. You could literally just play that game. I don't believe that. I might be wrong on this. I don't think you even have to have dice on them. You just have to have the variety of animals, and you can absolutely just clean the floor with it. Maybe they have to have dice. I can't remember. Spectacular is great. I picked it up almost spontaneously. It was already on my radar, but I picked that up, I think, at a Board Game Barbecue Day earlier in the year. Dean from Advent Games, big shout out to Dean. Dean's a legend. He has a friendly local game store that's on the Central Coast, and he pops into all these things with his lovely little kiosk, and he is super competitive with his prices, and his customer service is outstanding. And I grabbed Spectacular off Dean at one of these. Spectacular is designed by Eilif Svensson, Asmund Svensson, art by Geirmund Bone, and published by Chili Fox Games. I suspect this is made somewhere in Scandinavia. I really enjoy Spectacular. It's quick. It's relatively easy to teach if you don't screw the teach up twice, which I did because I'm such a shit teacher. But anyway, it's fine. It's not like I was playing Bone Wars. I had no idea how to play. I was teaching people how to play at a convention and fucked that up. And, it's not like that happened. I mean, that didn't happen. And other than that, I got a day night of Aeon Trespass yesterday. So, of course, Super Trooper and I are limping through Cycle 2 of Aeon Trespass. We are not in good shape in this campaign. We're doing fine from a character progression point of view, but you have certain resources like the hull of your ship and the number of crew that you have. We are walking a very fine line of total annihilation. And if you've listened to the show before, with Aeon Trespass, that if certain things happen in that game, it is not like Gloomhaven where, we could just reset. I mean, you can. There's a reset option. But if you that's a resetting your battles, not resetting and starting again. If you lose one of these resources during an adventure, your game is done. It is done and dusted and over, and you have to strip everything, put it back square one, and start again. So, which we have done before. We did that in cycle 1. So we're walking a very fine line. I keep getting advised to just chill. It'll be fine. And I'm chill. I'm totally chill about it. I might be a little anxious, but I'm chill. But Aeon Trespass Day Night we played. It was a shortish day yesterday, just because all our kids had such a wild weekend, school holidays. So we played 9 to 6. So what's that? That's 9 to 5:30. That's not bad. It was an 8-hour day. We normally go about 12 hours for Aeon Trespass Day Nights. Loving it. Love every minute of Aeon Trespass. Even when I get my ass handed to me, even when I get disemboweled by the flip of a card, I love Aeon Trespass. So those are the games that were. Welcome to FOMOMOFO, where I take you through my personal angst-ridden journey of capitalist acquisitionism. As always, this is not an exhaustive list of crowdfunding projects, but merely those that have my personal attention, either because they are by a design team, development team I like, theme I enjoy, or because they have pretty toys, and in my perfect world, they have all three. Not even sorry. So, Don't Starve is live. Hold on to your wallets. It started very gentle. There's a standard pledge and there's a deluxe pledge. The standard pledge has lovely little acrylic standees with original art from the game. And of course, the deluxe pledge has all the minis. And the minis are not to everyone's taste. I've heard a couple people go, ugh, I'm not a fan of those. But they actually match the aesthetic of the original game. I think the minis are actually great. I was a big fan of Don't Starve. I didn't play on Steam. I don't play on Steam. But I played it on iOS on my iPad late at night. After work, hours and hours of grinding and collecting more grass and trying to make another fucking grass skirt and a grass hat and then all of a sudden dying and realizing that, a week of gaming is just gone. Just gone. Because this is roguelike, not roguelite. Anyway, the campaign has started quite gentle, right? You've got those 2 pledges and a couple of add-ons. Hold on to your pants. There's like 3 weeks to go or something in the game. So I can't really tell you what it's going to cost in the end, because guaranteed there's going to be an acrylic all-in. There's going to be an all-in with all the... There's a couple of expansions already that have sprouted up. There's going to be an all-in with all the minis. Currently, the standard edition is 120 Australian. And let me be clear, the standard edition has acrylic standees for the characters in the game. Right now, all of the mobs are little tokens. Now, at this stage, you can buy what's called acrylic standee pack number 1. I mean, there is, alarmingly no acrylic standee pack number 2. So I can assume that that's coming. There might even be acrylic standee pack number 3. That wouldn't be the first time in a crowdfunding campaign that they've trickled those out. So the standard edition is 120. Currently, acrylic pack number 1's 45. And they're gorgeous. Like, if you know the Don't Starve art and you've played Don't Starve, the little acrylic standees, for me, they do it for me way more than the minis do. I mean, the minis are spunky. They're really much in the right theme of the game and whatnot. But this game, at a guess, it's got to have over 100 minis. I can barely paint what we've got. We're already playing Aeon Trespass with boring gray bad guys. I won't even... yeah. And it's fine. But, when you bring this great big bad guy out, it is gorgeous. And the detail on the model is amazing. And it's all just in shitty gray. It does hurt my brain a little bit. So, I can tell you, I'm hanging out to see what the all-in standee pack is for this. I'm actually quite hopeful that they're going to take this over to GameFound for the Pledge Manager. Because then I've got to stretch pay. My girl stretch pay. I know Kickstarter is doing you can do 3 payments. But I'm really keen to see what it looks like. So because right now you've got the base, you've got acrylic pack 1. There's the acrylic terrain pack, which has all the little sort of buildings or whatever else and campfires for another $20. Right now shipping is $42. So I can't give you a shipping differential on this. I can't help you with financial choices. It's watch this space. I think there's still, from memory, at least 3 weeks left on this campaign. So it's one of those things that if you haven't pledged early to get the early bird reward, I'd look at it in 2 weeks and make a decision. If you like Don't Starve, the gameplay looks quite good. There's some great gameplay videos out there. Paul Grogan's done a great one. There's plenty of unboxing. Paul Grogan, I think, has done 2 videos. He did one like 9 months ago. So I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for this to come out. And it's interesting. And it looks engaging. And, it's just survival crafting. But I think it's the kind of thing that would grab the peanut with the art and the little mini story and the little mini branching bits that come out of it. And I have lovingly installed Don't Starve on her iPad in the hopes that it might grab her attention between now and then. So watch this space. Next one I want to touch on is Secret Societies from Garfield Games. So Garfield has been teasing this secret project for, 3-4 weeks with silhouettes of the factions. And you could see that, there was one that was clearly some sort of lizard race, and there's one that looked like a research doctor. And anyway, it was all revealed last week that this is it's called Secret Societies. It's a blind bidding, double level auction-y sort of thing. And you're competing for different cities, and the cities give different benefits. I think at this point I could flip a coin 50-50 on Garfield Games. I love the South Tigris trilogy. Granted, I haven't played Adventures yet. It's sitting there. It looks so heavy, so meaty. Big fan of Scholars. I'm a moderate fan of Wayfarers. I think Wayfarers is a good game. I think it's interesting. Looking forward to Inventions. I really like Hadrian's Wall. Scar Bray didn't do anything for me when it came out. The Anarchy looked great. It looks like Hadrian's Wall 2.0. And there was another game they just released. There's another one they released literally just a few weeks ago that they dropped on crowdfunding just before this one. And the fact that I don't remember anything about it probably is it's on me. I know some people are mad for everything that the great law firm of Phillips and McDonald are responsible for. I know they've got Bobby Hall in there sometimes as well. I was a little underwhelmed when this sort of was revealed. I think the idea of it is fine. I think the art's really underdone. I think the art for the factions is fine. I think the art on the cards, there's so much empty space on the cards. And it's not that I want the cards to be busy, but I don't feel the theme. And yes, I am a sucker for stuff that looks good. Right? I'm an absolute whore for a game that looks amazing. So, we've talked about this, last week with things like Smartphone Inc. and Planet Unknown, where you unbox it and you go, really? So maybe it's a superb game. Like maybe this is another one of those. It's just so good. I watched a gameplay video. I wasn't really enamored with the way the gameplay was. And part of that, I think it's got to be played 3-player, and you got these blind auctions and meh for me. I'm not a whole lot into the sort of hidden info sub-genre, but look, it could be for you. I tell you what I do like though is Garfield's model. No stretch goals, no marketing games, no FOMO. They don't even usually do a pledge manager, and I look, they're not doing a pledge manager on this. You can late pledge, but there'll be no pledge manager. Once you pledge, that's it. There's no, well, I changed my mind, I want something more, I want something less. And realistically, it's not like they have a deluxe version. They usually throw a couple of promos in. It's not like, well, here's the game, and here's the game with toys. They go, here's the game, and because you backed this on Kickstarter, we're going to give you a few extra cards. I like that model. I think it's honest. I think it's transparent. I think it respects the gamer to make a good decision. And typically, Garfield fulfills usually within about 6 months. Right? They go to crowdfunding when they have a game that's almost ready to go, and you're going to get a game from them. The all-in, they've got an expansion called Merca. All it needs is Eagly and Peacemaker on the front, even though it's not DC. And the all-in is 124 Australian. It's very reasonable. 2025 shipping is $32, so 26%. Have a look, might be for you. The next one, there's 2 more I want to talk about. It's a quick trip through this week because there's not a lot on GameFound that is going today. There's a lot coming. But the next one's a game called Mercurial Alchemia. Now, Mercurial Alchemia is the spiritual successor to Mercurial. Mercurial is a gorgeous little game. I say little, it's not that little, it's probably mid-weight, that kind of slaps Century Spice Road and the gem and dice mechanic from Mage Knight together. into this lovely recipe fulfillment, cat and mouse, knife fight in a phone booth thing. I really like Mercurial. I had the pleasure of playing Mercurial with the actual designer at PAX 2 years ago. The art is gorgeous. The production is fantastic. Mercurial Alchemia is in that same universe, and you can see it in the way the cards are constructed, and where you've got sort of the recipe fulfillment from the cards, and you've got a way to turn some resources into others, which is, that core sort of mechanic in Mercurial. I'm not wild for the art aesthetic, if I got to be honest. It's got almost a stylized anime-esque sort of thing, but I think this will hit a really sweet spot for a lot of people. I will say the color palette and the presentation is spectacular. The collector's edition is only $100 Australian, which is very reasonable, and I don't know how they're doing it, but shipping to Australia is only $14, which is bonkers. David Go is the designer. I believe he's based in Singapore. I had the pleasure of meeting him at PAX 2 years ago. He's a super nice dude. This is one of those little indie projects that if you like it, Mercurial went to retail. Mercurial went to mass print. It went to mass print I'll use the word very loosely here, in an inferior form. The production is still excellent on the retail Mercurial. Make no mistake. But Mercurial, the deluxe version, was just that little bit nicer. And the playmat that you could get during the Kickstarter campaign for Mercurial is one of the sexiest, popping, sci-fi color palette playmats that I've ever seen. And as I said, this is one of those indie projects that if you want to really support this stuff from the get-go, David Go's a nice dude. I keep using his name as though we're friends. We're not. I met him once. But he was a charming, affable, interesting fellow who's passionate about his projects. And so have a look. If you haven't looked at Mercurial Alchemia, you should have a look. It's on Kickstarter. It's reasonably priced and gorgeous to look at. And the last one I have for you is weird as fuck. Like, oh my God. Admittedly, I'm going down the rabbit hole with crowdfunding these days and looking at everything. This will suit somebody, but this is okay. The game is called Exquisite Corpse. What the actual? It's basically, and this is the best way I can describe it in 2 words. I hope you're sitting down. It's burlesque Frankenstein. You have organs and body parts, and then you've got popping bosoms and legs in fishnet stockings and eyeballs and exposed brains, and the game is about piecing these cards together into an exquisite corpse. The art is bonkers. Now, when I say bonkers, it's not offensive, right? It's actually quite tasteful, right? Well, as tasteful as it can be when you're splicing an exposed brain onto a woman's torso with a navel. But this is a little indie project by Isabella Ronchetti. She's designed the game. She's done the art herself. One of my favorite lines in the campaign is, "Who made this? Don't worry, she's in therapy." And I can believe it because the game is bonkers. I'm not sure it's much of a game. It looks like more of an activity after 2 bottles of a wine that would be a little bit wild and fun for one playthrough, then you might pass it on. But it's a little indie project. It's $30 for the game. Shipping's not disclosed as far as I can tell, but it's basically a pack of cards, so how bad can it be? It's wild. As I said, I'm not really following anything on GameFound. Those are all on Kickstarter. This coming week and the next are absolutely massive. Elder Scrolls Part 2 is going live. So, oh my God, I'm going to have to, find an organ that I don't need. Honor's End is going live. I've watched a couple of playthroughs with Honor's End. If you're interested in seeing some of those, this is the new co-op deck builder by Ivy Studios. Rado has one that's quite good, and Alex Radcliffe has one that's quite good. Alex Radcliffe's goes a little long in the tooth, and actually the gameplay starts to look a little bit overly protracted for me, in that at one point he gets his whole deck out for one turn, and I look at that and I go, ugh. But this game is not ready for market, so I'm assuming it will go through all kinds of balancing. I really like the gameplay loop on this one. I'll talk about this more next week when it goes live. But one to look at is Honor's End by Ivy Studios. Uprising, the Oh My God edition, is coming out with a true solo. I like the idea of Uprising. I hate the aesthetic, as in like the standees. I am not a fan, but Uprising has been around a long time. It has a massive following. I'll be looking at that closely. just to sort of, I guess, see if the true solo is something that I'm interested in, and so much more. The crowdfunding ride for the next 6 weeks is going to be wild. Buckle up and grab some lube because it is going to be bonkers. That'll do it for FOMOMOFO this week.
Voices in my head, I'm talking to myself. What board game should I get down off the shelf?
This week on Voices in My Head, I want to talk about the idea of uber compressed FOMO and the Stonemaier model. Now, I know I've talked about Stonemaier and Jamie Stegmaier in the past. I'm a little bit of a fangirl of Jamie Stegmaier. I think he presents himself and carries himself and engages in a way that is morally admirable and honorable, and despite some challenges he had in the early days with some very spurious notions about art that perhaps was not genuine or not, or rather the rights to the art for Scythe perhaps weren't fantastically sound. I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of his work. I'm a big fan of his business model. But I want to talk specifically about one aspect of the Stonemaier model. So Jamie Stegmaier, he speaks very openly about his business and business practices. He's very transparent on how he makes decisions and why. He often releases designer diaries, which are insightful and interesting, because sometimes designer diaries are just a bit of a waffle. Game designers are great at designing games, not necessarily great at sharing their ideas. I think Jamie Stegmaier is both. And he's very open on his thoughts on crowdfunding. You know, he started there with Scythe and viticulture in 2016 and all the way back to 2013 for viticulture. And is quite open about the quite toxic experience he had on social media. I mean, obviously, this was quite early in the days of crowdfunding. This is going back 13 years. I don't think anyone expected to have to wait quite so long. You know, nowadays, if you wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years for a game, we go, well, okay, I would rather have it, but this is how it goes. But since then, he's gone straight to retail. And it's wonderful that he can, you know. I mean, he started in a day where these games wouldn't get made unless they were in crowdfunding. That's what the heyday of crowdfunding was. The crowdfunding is there to help people make things that wouldn't otherwise get made. And really, they made Stonemaier Games what it is today. I mean, the great games did. But that launch pad is something that was very, very effective. These days, and ever since then, Stonemaier Games doesn't even announce a game until it's almost ready to ship, which is crazy. It's crazy. And he's killed it this year with game releases. You know, Finspan was out earlier this year and it went bonkers. I mean, all the memes and all the teasing and all the wah online about Finspan and Wormspan and Wingspan and what's next, Turdspan and Carspan and Cheeseburger Span, the restaurant game. Despite all that, Finspan killed it in sales. And Battleship Spot Finspan, he freaking loved it. He's a fisherman. He freaking loved Finspan. And Super Drew played it. It's a great game. Absolutely great game. I can tell you right now, if I didn't already own Wingspan and the Fox didn't already love Wingspan, I would be buying Wormspan because I love dragons. I just can't bring myself to buy Wormspan knowing that then the Fox prefers, she loves Wingspan. She loves those fucking birds and little eggs and all that stuff. And it's great. It's great. So if I was starting from scratch, I would be starting at Wormspan because I like dragons. If you like fish, you start with Finspan. That's not what this is about. Vantage was a little bit different. You know, Vantage was a game that came out, I want to say, 8 weeks ago. Vantage, if you've been just climbed out of a stasis chamber, been living under a rock, is this wonderful free world exploration game where you have a unique vista in front of you and you don't share it with the people you're playing with. And you tell stories at the table and it's a choose your own adventure. And Vantage is wonderful. But he announced Vantage like 10 months ago. In fact, when he announced Vantage, and we're going to circle back to this, he released metal coins for it, even though the game wasn't out yet. We're going to circle back to that, because that's crazy too. But typically, he releases games and goes, hey, this game's coming out, you'll be able to buy it in 2 weeks. No nonsense. No leaks. How do we not get any leaks out of Stonemaier Games? The only thing I can guess is that people love working for Stonemaier and they love that secret and they love. Because most recently, he's just announced a game just last week, and we're going to talk about that later, that you'll be able to buy in another week. Crazy. Because how many times have you backed a game, and I've been lucky, it's not many for me, but how many times have you backed a game and 2 years later it's shipping and you're like, oh really? Why did I back that? Okay, well, it's coming. I mean, you see so many games up for sale on the Facebook Marketplace and eBay. Somebody's bought it and they're like, look, it's brand new and shrink. Haven't touched it. Here it is. Just trying to get my money back. Right? Like, it hasn't happened often to me. I will say, as an example for me, I pre-ordered PAX Hispanica like 3.5 years ago. I love pirate shit. I love pirates. I freaking love pirates, right? Ion Games announced PAX Hispanica like 3.5 years ago. I'm like, yeah, it's coming in a year. I'm like, oh, well, I'll believe you. I pre-ordered it. Great. 3.5 years later, it delivers. And I gotta be honest with you, this is the deluxe edition. It is the least deluxe edition I've ever bought. Now, there might be a great game in there. I haven't opened up and played it yet because good luck finding a video. The only video that I can find is by Phil Walker Harding, who, while he may actually be a legitimate rocket scientist, and his personal opinions aside, let's park those for now, he is not good at teaching games. So it's there. It may be amazing, but it is not deluxe. It's so not deluxe. So I waited 3.5 years after pre-ordering, and it came, and I opened it up, and I was like, ah. Now, would I be more excited if it was really deluxe? Probably a little, right? Because I still love me some pirates. But look, recently Stonemaier announced Origin Story. Okay, this was called, I believe, Codename Cape for the last 2 or 3 years, because they have this production schedule, and all the games have code names. You see Codename Cape, you go, yeah, for sure it's superheroes. You know what it is. You know it's going to be superheroes. It was announced last week. You're going to be able to order it on the 15th, and it will start shipping on the 16th. This, as a business model, is extraordinary. And I'll tell you why. Because the game is announced, and we'll talk about the game. I didn't talk about this in FOMOMOFO, but we're going to talk about it here in Voice in My Head. He's announced the game. It's going to be available 9 days from today. You're going to be able to purchase the game online. And it's going to start shipping immediately. So he's announced the game, which I actually think looks so fabulous. I think it looks 11. One, it's superheroes. Two, the art aesthetic is gorgeous. It's this watercolor-esque, really stylized superhero art that manages to cover everything off without looking like it's stolen any IP, right? Which is amazing, and it's beautiful, and the game it looks super clean, and it's the flavor of the month, isn't it? It's a trick-taking game. So my FOMO now is like, oh, this game looks so good. I love superheroes. I really like a trick-taking game. Oh, I like these other things. I love the art. It looks amazing. I only have to wait 9 days. What the shit? I only have to wait 9 days. So I'm going to order that game. I'm going to get that game. And I'm going to have that game on my table when the high from the release and the excitement is at its peak. And I think that is so smart, because rather than relying on, we're going to crowdfunding, and oh, here's some metal bits, Shazam, here's a stretch goal, poof, here's a blurb by one of the guys who gives a blurb to every game that's out there, here's 17 preview videos, oh, we're halfway through, here's a new acrylic bit, here's a big box, he's going to go, here's the game. And I don't know if there's any deluxe pieces for it. It's got little wooden bits that go with it, and it's cards, and it's a player board. It might not. Vantage had 2 little add-ons you can get. I'll be shocked if there's not something, because, he's a smart guy. I'm sure Jamie Stonemaier likes money. But I have seen this game, and I already like this game, and I'm going to have this game on my table within 2 weeks. That, to me, is the Stonemaier model, and it's unique. I think that the only thing that comes closest to that is the Garfield Games model, where they go to crowdfunding. They crowdfund it. There's no pledge manager. It's on your table sometimes 3 to 4 months later, right? It's not always a great game. And I know not everyone loves Stonemaier Games model. Stonemaier games, right? But Stonemaier used this model for Finspan. They used it for Apiary. They used it for Stamp Swap. They used it for Expeditions. The Expeditions expansion. It's like, hey, surprise, motherfuckers, you're going to get it in 2 weeks. And we're like, what, just, yeah. They're using it, the last 2 Tapestry expansions. There's a great game, Tapestry, flies under the radar. Tapestry's so good, especially with all the rebalancing. And this is his model. It's like, I got a game. By the way, I've been working on this game for 3 years. He actually just released a behind-the-scenes video that he recorded 2.5 years ago called his Cabinet of Secrets, where it outlines everything that we've seen in the last 2.5 years, and I think that's wonderful. He said, I'm doing another one. I'm doing another one right now, and another 2.5 years I'll be able to release this, because this stuff I'm excited about. As somebody who's passionate about things, I'm passionate about the things I'm passionate about. I'm not talking about board games. I mean, my other half of my life. I can't not talk about them. I can't imagine having something in your pocket that is so cool and so interesting and not being able to talk about it, but preserving that so that the sanity and sanctity of both your fans, but also the community at large and the model that you've built in your business. I just think the self-restraint to do that is so deeply admirable. And on top of that, and this is the totally sideways step from the model, here's the wrench in the works. Here's the anti-Stonemaier model. Last year he went, I got a game coming out next year. It's called Vantage. I'm not telling you anything, but here's some metal coins. The fucking metal coins sold out in 3 weeks. Nobody knows anything about the game. I think that was a wonderful, either a test of his market or a testament of his market. Because people bought these coins having no idea, no real idea. We all knew it was kind of a exploration-esque, but we didn't know anything else. We didn't even have a cover of the box. People are buying these coins and snapping these coins up. Because guess what? Once the game's released, you've got 50,000 people out there that own these metal coins going, well, I got the coins. I need the game now. Smart. Anyway, let's talk about Origin Story. So Origin Story is a trick-taking game. It's basically a standard deck of cards. It's 4 suits numbered 1 to 13. There are no face cards. They're just numbered 1 to 13. And you're going to be dealt a number of cards. And on your turn, you're going to lead. And you're going to lead with a suit. And it's a must follow. So if you have the same suit and they are strength, love, power, something else. It's like lightning bolt, fist, heart, and something else. I can't remember. And the art on the cards is gorgeous. They're number 1 to 13. So if I play a 2 of love, which is the trump suit, you have to follow, right? You don't have to break trump in this game. So I can lead with trump if I want to. Bad example, because I would never lead with a 2 of trump unless I was the villain. Because at the start of each round, you have to declare whether you are going to be a hero or a villain. And if you're a villain, you're trying to score 0 tricks. And if you are a hero, you're trying to score as many tricks as possible to get points. Right? Easy. Trick taking. Play a card, win a trick or lose a trick. Win a trick or lose a trick. You got a little player board in front of you. And on your player board, you have some cards that you've drawn, which are asymmetrical. So every round, I believe it's every round, you get 3 cards to choose from, and each of them has a superpower on them. And you pop that superpower into your board, and you can charge that up with a bit of stamina. And they're superpowers that you can play that have a meaningful impact on the trick-taking mechanic. So, for example, if I take flight as the superpower, I can spend that. If I win a trick, I can spend a stamina off of flight, and I can give that trick to someone else. I will then get a victory point for giving that trick, and I have no tricks in front of me. So if I was a villain and I had flight, it's a way for me to shed the 1 or 2 tricks that I accidentally win that I didn't want to. I think the joy and beauty of this is anyone can understand the basic must follow. I play a card. If you have the suit, you have to play it, right? If you want to win it, you play your highest. If you want to lose it, you play your lowest. You can play offsuit, and if you want to lose it, you play offsuit that's not trump. You want to win it, you play offsuit that is trump. You can teach that in 1 minute, and then it's, but look at what's in front of you, and try and keep in touch and keep on top of what's in front of me. And I think it's really cool. And at the end of the game, end of 5 rounds, you have this superhero in front of you with 5 powers, and that's your origin story. And I think it's a really clever little bit of game that I think is going to appeal to a lot of people. And I can't wait to see it in 12 days. He gets your money while your throb's on a high. You get your game into your hands and played while that high is still fresh. And to be honest, first printings from Stonemaier usually sell out. And then what happens is the people that missed out because they didn't order it on first printing, they're hungry. And then the second printing comes out and boom. Because he can usually get a second printing to the table within 4 months or 5 months. I think he's transparent. I think he's open. I think he's giving of his time to the public. If you're interested, he does a weekly Q&A. You can hop in, you can ask him questions. He won't tell you what games are coming, but he just seems like the kind of guy that you want to go have a beer with. Started as a small independent. He's now an absolute juggernaut, still humble, still accessible. I am happy to give him my money. Nice job, dude. Well, that'll do it for One Man Clapping this week. You can reach me on all the socials. You can find me on One Man Clapping by searching One Man Clapping on Facebook or Instagram. You can email me at wonmanclapping@gmail.com, as in I won all the games. You can join the One Man Clapping Guild on BGG and subscribe to Guild 4426. You can help me by dropping a like on Facebook or Instagram, or leaving a review on whatever platform you choose. If it's a bad review, I promise I'll survive. A little tear might leak out, and then I will console myself with deluxe board game pieces. I'll just bury myself in them up to my eyeballs and sniffle myself to sleep. This week's episode has been brought to you by the joy of anticipation. PAX is in 4 days. Games are being released. Stuff might be shipping soon. Some hate the wait. I've grown to love it. That watching those games creep forward on the time and go, it's a little closer, it's a little closer. What's happening with Trismegistus? I can't remember what happened in the last update. What's happening with Cloudspire? Ooh, it's been delayed 6 weeks. Ooh, it's not coming yet. I love it. If you're off to PAX this week, it is PAX Australia week in Australia. I will be there Friday and Saturday. I won't be there Sunday because it's a 10-hour drive for me and I have to be back at work on Monday. But I will be there Friday and Saturday. You will find me in the tabletop hall. I will wear my OMC shirt one of those 2 days. I won't wear it the second day because it will absolutely stink of board games and sweat. Tap me on the shoulder. Let's have a chat. Book me in for a game. I'll be at the games hall till 11:30, or they throw us out. Thank you as always for your time. Your time is precious, and the fact that you chose to waste an hour of it listening to how I spend my time is always humbling. Until next time, get your game on, even if you're going to play with yourself, because life is too fucking short. Peace out, mofos.
Locked in the bunker, shadows shake. One man clapping secrets away.